Add to stream. There we are. Can you guys hear me? For the 4 of you that are watching, let us know. Just send a comment saying, Sam, I can hear you, I can see you, and I can see your semi-bald friend in the background as well. Just drop me a little line to let me know that you're here. Today is the most important message that you need. Always the most important message. Hello, don't be stupid. Great to have you here, man. Hello. Hello. Hi, look, I'm getting you up on the big screen, guys, on the big screen. Let's go. Let's go. So for everybody watching now, as I said, just let me know that you're there. Ask any questions that you have, anything you want to know. The topic of this live stream is basically going to be getting back out there, right? We're going to be going over everything you guys need to do in order to get out of that rut. I am currently streaming to YouTube, to Fluid Social, to my Facebook page, to my Facebook group, to my Facebook profile, to my YouTube page. So howdy, Hamza. Good to have you, man. So I'm going live in all different places right now. And I want to make this as accessible for as many people as possible. So if you guys just tell me a little bit about your experience, like during lockdown, what you're going through, what you're trying to get out of your social life right now, and how you're planning to get back into the swing of approaching. Just drop me any comments or questions in the comment section. But to start with, I just want to kind of recap, like, obviously this has been a difficult year. 90% of the guys getting in touch with me are saying basically, like, I feel a bit like a social wreck at the moment. You know, it's hard to go out and talk to anyone. It's been obviously a tough time, and everyone's kind of social anxiety and the social pressure that you feel is at an all-time high. And then there's been 10% of my of the guys that have contacted me that are saying, Sam, I've been going out basically every day. I'm going out to parks, I'm talking to girls in parks, I'm going around a few busy streets that there are, and I'm talking to women there. And about 10% are actually really getting stuck in. And so I think the first important thing to cover here is that a lot of this is about how you frame it, right? There's always a way to reframe your life in the situation you're in, to give you motivation, to give you optimism, to put you on top of your game, to bring the form that you know you're capable of being in to the forefront. The problem is when we're locked down, when we're stuck in social isolation, when we're not getting out there, we're not meeting people, more often than not, it's difficult to change the mindset, because really it's the physical actions that you take that influence the mindset. You know, it's always the case that passion stems from action. You can't wait for life to give you motivation in order to get started. What's required is that you commit and that you will yourself to do what you know you need to do with every fiber in your body. And only in that strength of will can you go out and take the action, and then the motivation will follow the action. The passion will follow the action. You cannot wait for passion to come and say, oh, things were better before, you know, it used to be easy for me, but since the lockdown things are so hard and I just don't know how to get back into it. Well, what do you think is going to come along and get you back into it? What's going to come along? Nothing's coming. You have to will yourself forward. You have to will yourself into a new state of mind. What I mean by will yourself into a new state of mind is say, I know that right now, even though there's not the same opportunities that there has been in the past, things are still opening up. I know that there are opportunities to live a better and more social life than I'm living right now. And where are those opportunities? Are they in the park? Do I need to buy a new coat and dress up warm and go to the parks, right? Find a girl walking her dog. Find the people that are in the streets. I've been seeing footage of Camden Town in London, and it looks busy. So I know there are places that are good in London right now, guys. So most of you who are over there, you can get started now. You have to will yourself forward. You have to start taking the action. I was talking to a client earlier today, and the way that I broke it down, he was like, man, I've been locked up all this time, and I just want to get out there again. I just want to start building my social life again. I'm usually a confident guy, but I'm not feeling it right now. And I said, look, there's 2 ways to look at your life right now, right? And each one is a mountain. right? There's a mountain in front of you. There's a mountain that you need to climb. There's two ways to look at that mountain. The first way is to say, shit, look at the size of that thing. Look at all the time and effort and resources that I'm going to need to expend getting to the top of that mountain. What a difficult road ahead. What a difficult path I'm going to have to follow. And then you look at it that way, and it becomes stressful and overwhelming and overbearing. And then you look at it another way and you say, right, there's the mountain in front of me. There's the top of it. That's where I'm going. I'm getting to the top. Now, in order to get to the top, what do I need to do? Well, I just need to take one step, right? And then the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And you bypass that enormous journey that it seems so difficult and stressful to get to, and you just say, I'm focusing on the top, I'm focusing on the peak of the mountain. In order to get to the peak, I need to take one little step at a time. And so that's what you do. You just keep taking that little step. So that's the way to frame it, and you will yourself out. You will yourself into action. You start taking the action, and then the motivation comes, and then the passion comes. So Hamza, you're stressed with uni work. You feel antisocial, disconnected from people. So what do you need to do, right? Well, my experience with work, whether it's my business or writing or anything I'm doing, is that if I commit all of my time and resources to work, my ability to do that work effectively is drastically diminished. So when I'm stressed with uni work, or when I'm stressed with any type of work, almost always what I need to do is I need to go out and walk around. I need to exercise. I need to get myself out of this prison of the mind that exists when you're so utterly focused on one thing. So if you're feeling stressed with uni work, antisocial, disconnected from people, you need to will yourself into social environments. So right now, the start is to put your work down, to go out, take a walk somewhere you haven't been before, look at the nature around you, look at the people in the eyes, talk to someone. Your mind opens up, your lateral creative intelligence expands and becomes immersive when you take an action that is fueled by adrenaline. When you do something that's difficult, that's challenging, that requires energy and is difficult to overcome. When you do that, everything else becomes easy. Your mind opens up. You figure out new effective ways of getting on with that work. So if you're disconnected from people, no one's coming to save you, man. You have to will yourself forward. You have to will yourself back into social environments. Tim D, I get so uncomfortable being alone and I'm enjoying it. I got so comfortable being alone and I'm enjoying it. Right, so you're comfortable, you're enjoying your comfort zone. I mean, the first thing I'd say about that, because I know a lot of other guys are in the same position, sometimes you get into this like comfortable, warm space, right? You found a living room that's nice and warm and it's safe and you've got your TV and you can crack on with some work. What I usually say is like, that's a wave, right? That wave whilst it's good. But almost certainly there's something on the other side of that that you're not going to be prepared for. So when you're riding in your comfort zone and everything's easy and comfortable, and sometimes that's enjoyable, right? But that's the time when you should be harvesting the grain. I think of it like a grain store in sort of agricultural times. You want to, when the weather's good and when you're getting lots of grain, you want to harvest it and store it, because you know that at some point that grain's not going to be good, that harvest's not going to be good. And when that harvest isn't good, that's the time when you're going to wish that you'd prepared for it. So Tim, if you're comfortable and happy right now, your mind is not static. Your mind works in waves like this. So if you're comfortable and happy right now, there's absolutely no guarantee that it's going to stay that way. Actually, if that's the case, you should be preparing yourself for when things get tougher, because they are going to get tougher. It's not going to stay easy. It's going to get difficult. Life is going to get difficult. Life is going to challenge you in ways that you didn't expect. And so if you're in your comfort zone, enjoy it whilst it lasts, because it's not going to last. It's going to get difficult. It's going to get harder. You're not always going to be in this comfortable, happy zone. So all I would say to that, Tim, is enjoy it whilst it lasts, but harvest the grain whilst you're there, because it's not always going to be so easy. Life is going to throw you a few curveballs in not much time. Ian, good to see you. Ian, so many girls out at the moment. Was getting coffee with a friend and found it hard to concentrate on our conversation. Well, that's a good problem to have, man. That's a very good problem to have. But yeah, it's great to hear. It's great to hear that things are opening up. I know so many of you guys have been finding this really challenging, right? A lot of you are really taking this seriously and getting going and getting to that momentum that you need. And then COVID obviously threw that curveball. So now that things are opening up, it's the best time. This is the most important time for you guys to be preparing. What you don't want to do is find yourself in June, July, August, still trying to get that momentum, still trying to get yourself out there. And before you know it, the winter's here. People aren't out as much. It's harder to approach. People are less open and less friendly. And you've kind of got to start from scratch. So what I would say is make sure that you're aware that this is the time that you need to be getting your head in the game, that you need to be getting stuck in and getting started, because it's going to be all up from there. If you get your momentum now, this is going to be an easy process. If you don't, you might find this difficult. You might find this a very difficult few months. Haven't booked that call yet, Sam, but promise I will. Yeah, I mean, that goes for all of you guys. Look, as I always say, I'm more than happy to talk to any of you guys for 30 minutes free of charge, right? I don't want there to be a paywall between me and anything we're doing together. Like, I want everyone to be able to get value from me for free. And so if you haven't already, just book a 30-minute call at my Calendly link. I'll post my Calendly link in the comment section so that all of you guys have it. But essentially, all you need to do is book a call with me, and I have to give you guys 30 minutes to answer any of your questions and get you that motivation that you need. Do you think an autistic person should use cold approach because of the high chance of annoying someone? Yeah, I do. I just think you've got to be extra careful. I've worked with autistic people and people on the autism spectrum in the past. And the thing that you need to do if you are someone who has a diagnosed autism spectrum disorder is to make sure you're most focused on the first thing, which is making sure she feels safe. You really need to make sure the approach itself is right, because if you can get that first 10, 20 seconds good, things are going to get much easier. And I've had autistic clients who've got good results as well, and they've managed to actually to do well, but it really requires a lot of work at the start in just making sure that your approach is well calibrated and that you're not making any obvious sort of errors in how you're assessing the girl and calibrating to the conversation. Okay, Tim, I got so comfortable being alone that I'm enjoying it, but I don't believe that is what I want long term. I just don't know how to want to be social again. That's an interesting question, man. And I would come back to the previous point, and a lot of you are going to be feeling this. You got comfortable, you found some nice routines. Even a lot of my clients have been saying they've kicked an alcohol problem, or they've like not been drinking. They've been actually a lot more healthy, cooking healthy food at home. So there is a level of comfort that comes with the lockdown. But what I would say to that is, you know that there's something right. You know that it's not always going to be this easy. You know there's going to come a time where people start going out and you don't know what you're doing, and you're feeling socially anxious and self-conscious, and you're thinking, shit, right? All that time I was comfortable and I thought it would last forever, or I was naive and I didn't recognize at the time and make the most of the fact that this is the time where it's good. This is the green light, and there's going to be a red light just down the road. And so I need to prepare for that red light. I'm going out with Eddie, my friend who you saw in the background. As soon as this live call ends, we're going to go out and head to the beach here in Rio and do some approaching. Both of us have had a couple of, a few days off, but you always have to just get back in there. You have to will yourself back into it when you're not there already. Anek, brother, are you in Brazil? I just came in. Yeah, drop me a message, man. You've got my WhatsApp number under any of my YouTube videos. Let's have a call, man, and I'll help you out over here. You still have the best hair in the industry. I'm jealous. Your hair can do all the talking in a day game stop, I reckon. Mate, it's not that good, really. Like, it's a bit of a mess. But I appreciate the compliment anyway. Thanks. Oof, Tusky. Good to see you, mate. I want one. what's things like in Bombay? What's Bombay like for approaching? I actually haven't been, but for any of the guys in India, do you have anywhere you recommend? Because I've had a few guys asking about India as a place to go. And what's it like? What's it like for approaching over there? Is Bombay a good city, Mumbai, as people like to call it now? Or yeah, any information on India? I'm actually curious to know. And so is James, apparently. But yeah, so anyone thinking about coming to Brazil, I know that's difficult at the moment in the UK, but I'm going to be back in London on June the 22nd. That's June the 22nd. I've already sold 4 spaces in the first 2 weeks. So if you are looking to get some coaching and go back to London with a bang, literally and metaphorically, then get in touch. We'll arrange our call. We'll talk about what we can do for you and we'll make it happen. But yeah, I just think that sometimes what you need is not information, right? All of you guys know what you need to do. If you've come this far, you know what you need to do. You go outside. The steps are this. You walk out the front door. You focus on the faces of the people around you as you're walking. You don't get lost in thought. You don't let yourself get distracted by little things. You do a social meditation where you focus on the faces of the people around you. And once you're focused on the face of the people around you, you look for an eye contact, right? This is the first step. It's super simple. If someone gives you eye contact, that means you've made that first step, that first little bit of communication, which is with the eyes. It's nonverbal. If you like the look of that person, you go up to them and you say hi. Now, that can be anything from, hey, how are you? Right? You do a front stop and you say, excuse me, hi, how are you doing? Or you could say, hey, I just saw you from across the street. I thought you looked nice and I wanted to say hi. Anxiety doesn't come into it. Why I'm not focusing on anxiety is because it's like a McDonald's yellow arches. You can be saying, I hate McDonald's, it's bad for me, I don't want to eat it. McDonald's, McDonald's, McDonald's. You can be saying negative things about it. But your mind doesn't recognize, I'm not going to eat it, I don't like it. All it hears is McDonald's, and McDonald's grows, and then you find yourself having a chicken select before the day is done. The same is with anxiety. If you focus on, how do I get over my anxiety? How do I approach anxiety? All that happens is you get more anxious. So forget about it. Distract yourself by the present moment. Focus on the people around you. Focus on what you can do positively and not negatively. Not, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be a coward. I don't want to be anxious. I don't want to be nervous. I do want to be confident. I do want to talk to people. I do want to improve my life. And by focusing on those positives, just like the yellow arches, they grow as well. So that's what you need to focus on. Ian, now is the time to build social circles. I built some really good ones recently and people are starving for social contact. After my exam, I'll be approaching all through June. Now is the time to build social circles. Every day is the time to build social circles. What we've done here, Tusky, if you're still watching, Tusk and I, what we did this year, which was amazing, so we had some clients over here for New Year's and for Carnival. We built a WhatsApp group with just me, Tusk, and a few of our close friends, a couple of clients. And then we kept meeting cool foreigners, other guys over here, or cool people that we'd network with. We kept adding them to the group. And now we've got a group of about 30 really cool guys who we all head out together. If someone wants to go for lunch, someone wants to go and talk to some people at a bar, we just drop a line in the group and there's always someone around to do it. Now, you can do that in London as well. Ian is right. Now is the time to be building social circles. If you start building your networks now, you start talking to groups of individuals, talk to girls, get to know their guy friends even, meet up with their friends. By the time June comes and people are out in the parks and things are opening up, you're going to be well on your way. You're going to be getting ahead of the game and life's going to start looking really good. The approaching is going to come easier. You're going to be more socially fluid, roll credits, and everything's going to be better. So get out there. I know it's late in the UK right now. It's about coming up to 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, what's your excuse not to do one approach tomorrow? I just talked to one of my clients on the phone before this call, and he said, what shall I do, right, to get started? And I said, take that first little step, that one step forward to enter the first meter of that mountain. Take that step. Do one approach. Go and ask someone for the time. And it's not important in and of itself. Asking someone for the time is not going to get you any results. It's not going to get you any numbers. It's only for you. It's only so you know in your mind that you've taken the first step, that you've opened the door, and now you just have to walk through it and keep walking. And there's nothing else to think about. There's nothing else to worry about. What about living with parents? Do they know about this? Living with whose parents? Your parents? I don't know. Do they? Mohammed, I'm not entirely certain about what the question is, but if you live with parents, the first thing to ask is, I mean, do they mind you potentially bringing someone back to the house? If they do, what are your ways around that? Even if you're not planning on dating any girls and bringing them back to your house, you still should be approaching, right? A good friend of mine once said, he's like, look, I don't see the point in approaching because I haven't got a nice place to take a girl back. I'm embarrassed to take her back to my house. So what's the point? I was like, man, the point is you're not always going to be living there. And you can't wait until you move to start getting the momentum. You need to prepare your life now so that when an opportunity arises, like moving into your own house or booking a hotel or finding an amazing park somewhere secluded, when the opportunity arises, you're in a position to take action. It's just another excuse to say I'm living with my parents. That doesn't mean that you're socially inept. That doesn't mean that there's anything stopping you from going out and talking to girls right now. So get out there. You'll figure it out, man. We have evolved because we adapted. We have evolved because we can communicate well and because we're adaptable. We can adapt to any environment and any setting. If you get started and you face obstacles, you will figure out a way around them, whether that might be going back to her house or, as I said, finding a nice secluded spot in nature, which can be some of the best experiences. Living with your parents is no excuse. Get out of the house. Do your one approach tomorrow. That's my message to everyone watching this. What is your excuse? If you're trying to improve your social life and your dating life, what is your excuse not to do one approach tomorrow? Yeah, man, I'm back. X, go and give it to you. This is the real DMX. If this is the real DMX, thanks for coming on my live stream, man. I assume it's not. So yes, I'm back. Eesh, Indian cities right now. Yeah, probably not the best time to go over there. Sorry for everyone in India who's suffering. It sounds really rough over there. I imagine the big capitals are faring a bit better, but yeah, probably not the time to head over there right now. India's very tough, loads of guys, girls hard to meet, but girls go for it in nightclubs in Delhi or Goa. Good information. There you are, Tusky. There's your answer to your question. Israelis too. Right, yeah. So look, if you live with your parents, in the majority of cases, it would be really weird to take a girl back to your parents' house. I understand, so don't do it. Go and approach girls and figure out a way around it. If you're with a girl and she's like, let's go back to your place, and you've had the conversation and she's enjoying your company and you guys are getting on really well and, you know, she wants to be with you in that way, figure out a solution, man. Go on your phone, call up a hotel, call up a hostel, call up an Airbnb, or say, I want to take you somewhere cool and show her somewhere she hasn't been, maybe Battersea Park, or you can go to the Chinese pagoda. There's some foliage around there that I think will serve you well. It's just an excuse. It doesn't stop you from approaching. My message is, and has always been, I'm not teaching you guys this so that you get laid more. I mean, I hope for some of you that's a pleasant side effect, but that's not why you're doing it. This process of going out and approaching women has changed my life in more ways than anything else has changed my life, right? And it's not the sex that's changing my life. It never has been the sex that's changed my life. It's willing yourself to action that changes your life. It's conquest. It's it's man's hunger to conquer. And I don't mean that in the, you know, I don't mean that in some sort of machismo way. I mean, literally, we have a thirst to overcome obstacles. And life is continuously getting easier and easier for us. And there's fewer and fewer obstacles. And so when you find yourself complaining about menial things, about a lack of internet, or like the food wasn't good at the restaurant, or Sarah didn't message you back, what you're forgetting is that you've got it easier than anyone else has in history. And so in order to level yourself out, to humble yourself, to be an effective person, to be as good as you can be, you've got to create those challenges for yourself because they no longer really exist. We don't have many challenges in day-to-day life now. So cold approach for me is the most direct and instantaneous way that you can go out with nothing, from a situation of having nothing, and create different circumstances in your life for yourself. Business is a great way. Gym is a great way, but what they miss is that instantaneousness. In the gym, you see development, you see gains over months. Cold approach, it's right now. That adrenaline's there right now. That testosterone's there right now. That negative inner voice is there right now. And it's just you that can overcome it. And that's why it's so beautiful. It's the closest thing we've got to the Viking conquests. We don't have longboats anymore. We don't have cities and countries to conquer. All we've got is our own minds. And we've got this amazing opportunity to create circumstances out of nothing that for so many people are never going to have the opportunity to do that. And we do. So let's make the most of it and appreciate this amazing opportunity that we have. Sam, how would you recognize IOIs if you struggle with eye contact? Do you look at everyone in the streets? Look, firstly, I'm going to say you shouldn't be thinking about IOIs right now. A lot of the questions that get asked are the types of questions that the answer is you need to be doing more. You need to be doing more approaching, right? If what you're thinking about is IOIs, the likelihood is that if you did some more approaches, if you're approaching more, if you're approaching enough, if you're approaching every time you had the opportunity to, you wouldn't be asking that question. Because the truth is, IOIs are not that important when you're in the right mindset. And I'm going to go through the right mindset now. But when you're in the right mindset, you don't have these things on your mind. You don't have these types of questions on your mind. So, for example, IOIs might seem important now because you're thinking at some point, I'm going to get to a point in an interaction where I'm with the girl and I can't recognize if she likes me or not. But when you're out approaching, you're being social, you're being proactive, you're taking your life into your own hands, you're not thinking about IOIs. You're not thinking that you're good. You're not thinking that you're better than anyone else. You're not thinking that you're a pickup artist. You're not thinking that you're anything at all. The whole point is that you're not thinking about yourself. You're focused on other people. And that's the amazing benefit of it. There's some happiness studies that have been done, and happiness in the broader sense of the world, but well-being, peace of mind and well-being, that show a very strong correlation between the amount of time spent thinking about other people, right? Focused on other people, focused on helping other people, on interacting with other people, versus thinking about yourself. And generally, the more you're focused on yourself, the less happy you're able to be, because you're constantly in this mindset of self-consciousness, of comparing yourself to other people, of worrying about banal issues that completely ignore the fact that this is all temporary and that life is going to end one day. We have this sense of immortality where we think that our problems are so important right now. Whereas if you're focused on someone else's problems, if you're focused on someone else's feelings and how they are in the moment, you get to enter their world and you get this sense of detachment from the menial everyday problems that you're facing. So stop worrying about IOIs, get out there, approach again. However, to answer the question directly, how would you recognize IOIs if you struggle with eye contact? The question isn't how do you recognize IOIs, the question is how do you start making eye contact, right? And that starts with, as I said, the social meditation. You have to will yourself to do so. When you're walking down the street, you're walking past a couple of women, you start to look them in the eye. You start to say, right, there's a couple across the road, there's a family over there, there's an attractive girl there, there's a couple of guys there. Let me just relax my face. Let me just walk with that relaxed facial muscles, right? You're not tense, you're not smiling like a goon, but you're also not, serious, cold Western European man. You've got this sort of light, half-masked eyes, relaxed facial muscles, and then you just look around, right? Almost like you've had a couple of tokes on some of the funky stuff. You're feeling a bit looser and a bit more relaxed, and you just make eye contact with people. And when you do, when you recognize the faces of others, something amazing happens, and that is this. You stop worrying about how they could potentially respond badly, and you start intuiting how they actually might respond, right? If you look at a girl and you realize actually she looks quite peaceful and relaxed, she's not glued to her phone, she's smiling, she seems cool, your mind no longer creates up this narrative of how she's going to respond and how she's going to blow you out and how it's going to be embarrassing and how you're going to fail. You start realizing that the evidence suggests that she's probably going to be pretty cool about it. She's probably going to respond quite well. And so when you see that, it takes a lot of the pressure off the approach itself. You actually feel like, let me go try this, right? This girl's not going to be rude. Look at her. She's happy. She's not going to be rude. You can tell, actually, if you pay attention. But even getting to the point that you can pay attention is difficult, right? And you cannot always just change your mindset and change the way you're seeing something. Sometimes you have to take the action. You barely started day game when you started working for Kezia. How did you get that gig? You must be a good salesman. It's a very good point. I mean, what that fails to recognize is that I was actually working with autistic students 2 years before I started working with Kezia, right? So I started working for a company that helps autistic kids essentially transform from school to university. So when they go from school to university, there's a very difficult social transition. University is very much about the social life, right? And for guys with autism spectrum disorders, that can be very, very difficult because they don't know how to communicate with groups of people. They make one social faux pas, one mistake, and they suddenly get castigized from the group. They get kicked out of the group and they get isolated very quickly. And so my job was to be a social skills mentor to kids at university. And I've been practicing by myself. I've been cold approaching and meeting people for the second 2 years of university when I essentially canceled my degree. So I actually did have some experience when I got the gig with Kezia. Also, I sold myself well. And I was very diligent about getting that position, right? I shadowed for other coaches. I got in other coaches' good books, right? I made friends with them. I went out with them. So they recommended me to Kezia. I talked to Kezia one-on-one and I told her what I would do. So I actually, my ability to get that job at the start was based on my journey through cold approach, right? Being able to cold approach women taught me that I could basically do anything, right? If you will yourself to do it, you can do it. And I would never have been able to get a position like that if I hadn't also been focusing on cold approach, because it takes your life into your own hands. It shows you that you are autonomous, right? To that extent, you can take control of your life position. If you want to do something, you can go out and do it. And so getting interviews, getting higher positions at work, club promotion, events organizing, starting a business and selling your idea to investors, all of those are skills that are directly transferable from cold approach. When I approach girls, I feel 1 in 4 girls are receptive, 1 in 4 are neutral, and 2 of 4 are just like, no. Yep, that's about right. That's probably about the same for me, and I imagine that's the same for everyone. So, you know, that's just one of those laws of averages where if you're doing 20, 30 approaches a week, you can expect about 5 of them to come through. You can probably meet up with about 5 of them if you're not messing anything else up and if you're telling them what you want to do. So much of this is about expressing what you want to do. The amount of times me and my experience and clients that I see now who fail to turn a date into something more, right? Fail to turn the first date into a second date or into a sexual experience or a relationship just because they didn't invite the girl back, right? They didn't let her know that that's what they wanted to do. And how can she be attracted to you if either she thinks you don't want to see her again or go home with her, or that you do want to, but you're too scared to even try it, right? She doesn't mind if you're a bit scared, but you go for it, right? Because that's attractive, right? You're not going to be confident in every moment, but if you can move without confidence, if you can take strong action without feeling 100%, then you are a strong potential partner. And so she's evolved to find that attractive, even if you're not confident in the moment. Mohammed, finesse it and go to a hotel if needed, or have Shagger's car kit at all times. Respect and chillness of still essential. Yeah, I mean, only the first part of that is like super true on a grand scale, which is that finesse it is just the key. That's everything. Whether it's not being able to take a girl back to your parents' house, or whether it's you know, getting a job that you probably aren't qualified to do, we're finessing it, right? No one in any position looks at themselves at the end of the day and says, of course I'm here, right? I deserve to be here. I was always going to be here. Everyone's winging it, right? That's one thing you learn the further into this journey you go, is that you're always winging it. You're always finessing it, right? You're playing the laws of averages. You get lucky, right? because you create the opportunity for that luck to occur. If you never buy the ticket, you never win the lottery. And a lot of this is chance, good luck, catching someone at the right time, in the right frame of mind, when you're on, you've got time and space and you found a good state of mind out of somewhere, and everything just works out. But if you never take the action, you never create that opportunity for luck to occur. So finesse it is the key. It's the key. I feel too old to date and meet a woman. I'm 33 years old, and I feel as though every girl that I speak to are already in a long-term relationship. Well, it's not true, man. It's just not true. It's not true. I was recently seeing a girl who's 32, and she's not even interested in a long-term relationship right now. So look, this is just more self-destruction. We're wired to, in many ways, to stop ourselves at the last hurdle, right? To trip ourselves up, because we like having this idea that we can be better, that we can be successful, as a dream, as something to aspire to. And when we realize that it's well within our grasp and it's not actually that far away, in some ways we want to protect the dream at the expense of the better reality. And I think that's the reason for so much self-destruction. And this message, Alex, with all due respect, looks to me like self-destruction. You're young, you're a young man, you're a man in your prime. And you feel as though every girl that you speak to is in a long-term relationship. But that's not the truth. They are just not all in long-term relationships, right? Not even probably half of them are. And so that feeling doesn't mean anything. You have to override that feeling and keep taking the right action that you know to be right. And then you won't feel that anymore, because you'll see evidence in your life to the contrary. What practical steps can I take to go about meeting a woman around my age? Actionable advice only, please. You're the best. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. So the first practical steps you can take is the way, I think what separates me from a lot of other people working in this space is that I do focus more on environments than I do on this sort of shotgun approach technique of just approaching everyone all the time, wherever you are, regardless of your situation. So the first practical step I do, and something I do with my clients, is I create a graph which essentially has these two axes. What do you enjoy doing? What environments do you enjoy, and what activities do you enjoy doing? And what activities or environments are likely to have a high footfall or a high concentration of the types of women that you're attracted to? And where those two things meet, those two axes meet, is where you should be going. For example, I like techno music, electronic music, sort of like ambient techno music that you'd go to some sort of edgy nightclub in some, third tier London, somewhere like Mile End. And you'd find this sort of like cool electronic music, John Hopkins, Kiasmos, things like that. I also know that young, attractive women, educated women, you can find them in museums, art galleries, exhibitions, concerts, and things like that. So if I find out that at the Saatchi Gallery, there is an exhibition on rave music that costs £20 to enter, I know that there's beautiful women around Chelsea that frequent the Saatchi Gallery. I know that attractive women are interested in this type of music, and I know that we're going to have loads in common when I meet them there. So that's where I go. It's fun for me. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to just focus solely on approaching women, because I'm going to an exhibition that I know I'm going to enjoy. And maybe I'll go with a friend. And then when I get in there, I've got loads to talk about. Approaching someone is about as easy as you can imagine it, because people are walking around, they're putting a headset on, they're learning, they're listening, they're communicating with their environment, and it's opening them up creatively and socially. So when I approach in that environment, I meet beautiful girls, young, beautiful girls that I like, and we have things in common, and I'm enjoying myself. And so there's no real pressure on the approaching, because I would enjoy that experience without approaching. So find the things that you like that are also likely to have a high concentration of the women you like, and that is your golden section. That's your sweet spot. That's the zone in which you want to operate. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've really warm approach people before, and cold approach just not for picking up before, but it's the pickup of hot women is what I never tried before. Yeah, I mean, look, I understand it's harder. There's more pressure when you're talking to a girl that you're really attracted to. But in my experience, like specifically in London, but even here in Brazil, guys generally tend to go for girls who are a little bit less attractive to them than is ideal. It's much easier to approach a girl who you're not that attracted to and to have a pretty like lifeless conversation, because you're talking to her and you're trying to get her number, maybe date her, but you're actually not that inspired in the moment. And so you fall into these patterns. That's when people pick up these anchors, the things they keep on saying with every girl they meet, right? You may have some crutches or some anchors that you continuously return to. And they're bad habits. Even if they get a laugh every time, it's a bad habit, because what you're doing is you're letting yourself go into autopilot and you're wearing it out. You're wearing out the same jokes. They don't have the same zeal, the same creativity behind them that they had at the start. So when you talk to the women that you really like, beautiful girls that you're really attracted to, that actually get you excited, sometimes those interactions, you get nervous, you go red, you get sweaty palms, and it goes nowhere. And you feel, you don't feel great. You feel good that you approach, but it doesn't feel great to be turned down by a girl that you like. But what happens in a lot of cases is that you actually step up to the mark, especially if you've got some experience. You see a really beautiful girl and you realize that the fact that you're actually interested in her and she can sense it and feel it, and that you've approached her when most people don't, and actually maybe a girl who's less attractive or less interesting will get more attention because she's seen as an easier option, means that with a really, really beautiful girl, the most beautiful girls to you, you actually step up to the mark. And that's what I see with a lot of my male friends who have incredible girlfriends now, like beautiful, intelligent, educated girlfriends. It's not that they're any different to a lot of the other people. It's just that they stepped up when it mattered, right? They said, I'm going to go in, I'm going to go there because I know it's usually guys that are fairly competent with their business and their work life as well, because they know that they faced challenges in the past. They know that they're just winging it. They know that they don't necessarily deserve any of this, but he who dares wins. And sometimes you've just got to dare to make it happen for yourself. And so I think that's a strong message that everyone watching this can take, is that you've just got to put yourself in the position in which luck can occur. You've got to create your opportunity for luck to do the rest, to take care of the rest. Hopefully when Ramadan is over and I'm still around, then I can do it. Yep. And happy Ramadan. Who is single? Yeah, look, Alex, obviously the same thing applies. It doesn't matter. You're going to find attractive girls in certain environments, single or in a relationship. It doesn't make a difference. You need to figure out what it is that you like, what it is that has attractive women that also like it, and then go there. What should I think about this girl who claims she's religious but has 250 followers on a relatively sexual IG TikTok? Says she only had it once and only would with guys she loves. Shit test. Who knows, man? I honestly, if I were you, Sam, I wouldn't think too much about this, right? A girl who claims she's religious but has 250,000 followers on a relatively sexual IG or TikTok. I mean, I wouldn't care, right? I mean, Brazil, for example, is a country that is, I think, the most Catholic country in the world in terms of numbers. There's more Catholics in Brazil than anywhere else in the world. Highly, highly religious country over here. And the girls are also very sexually liberal, in more so than in most places, right? They don't consider sex a big deal. They talk to their guy friends about it, to their girlfriends about it. It's not a taboo subject. And so that may seem like a paradox, but we're all paradoxes to some extent, right? We're all hypocrites to one extent or another. And if we can at least notice that about ourselves and laugh at it, then that's a great step forward, right? If she can say, yes, I am religious, and yes, I do have pictures of me in a bikini online, and yes, I understand that that's a paradox, but I'm not perfect, right? That's the best we can do. Taking this high and mighty stance of judgment of other people, like, oh, she's fake religious, or she shouldn't be flaunting herself. That's not what her God would want. It's not our it's firstly not our job to judge other people, but secondly, what should happen in a rational and intelligent and empathetic man is that when you find yourself judging someone else, you should instantly realize all of the ways in which you're being a hypocrite. I had a moment about a month and a half, 2 months ago, where I was talking about how people like someone who's complaining. This woman walked past, she was complaining about stuff. I was like, God damn, like people just walk around complaining about everything. It's like, what are they doing? And I just stopped myself. I was like, I'm complaining about her complaining, right? Every time you criticize someone else, you should recognize all the ways in which you should be criticizing yourself. Because almost all, in fact, I would hazard to say that always, if you're criticizing someone else, you have done what they're doing in the past. And that's part of the reason why it's annoying. It's because you're finding something that you hate about yourself and you're projecting it onto someone else. That's mostly what criticism is, but that's sort of a tangent. I wouldn't worry about whether she's lying about how many guys she slept with or whether she's actually slept with one. I think women are more evolved than men to unconsciously forget certain experiences that they don't believe are going to be of lasting value to their life and to their future. And again, you can say, oh, you know, women are crazy for doing that or lying or whatever. I don't recommend that, because there's many ways in which we're crazy, in which we're lying as well. I would look at it as, it's not your place. It's not helpful for you to judge her. It's not helpful for you to think about this. It's not helpful even for you to care if she slept with one guy or 5 or 10 guys, right? Focus on the girl. Focus on what you like about her. Is there a connection? Is she educated? Is she intelligent? Are you getting on well with one another? Are there any clear red flags? If none of that's the case and you have a good connection, then see where it goes and stop worrying in the moment. Focus on her in the moment, and the future will take care of itself. 33 is still young. You would be going about it exactly the same way as someone in their 20s. Quite right. 33 is still young. And there's no age that you're too old to take your life into your own hands and to start taking the action that you know how to do. How to keep eye contact. Look at her ears. It will seem as though you are looking at her eyes, giving 6 feet apart. No, just look at her eyes, man. Like, you know, it shouldn't be like a way around addressing what should be a normal piece of human communication. If you feel like you need to look at her ears, so to avoid eye contact, the problem isn't the eye contact. The problem is with you not being open enough or emotionally vulnerable enough, or in the habit of looking at people's eyes. So that's what needs to be corrected. Eye contact should be something that you're trying to improve. You shouldn't be looking for ways around making eye contact. You should be looking to make eye contact and looking for ways around the nervousness that's stopping you from doing it. Women around my age are in a relationship. Okay, if you can disagree, I mean, there's nothing more to say about that. My experience has shown me otherwise. Men go their own way. Okay. Yeah, I mean, men can go their own way. No problem with that. But as soon as it becomes about criticizing other people, then it's a problem. And if it's not about that, then it's cool. Simple, go for younger girls. Why would you want to go out with a 33-year-old woman? Fine, some people do. I don't really have a problem with going out with a 33-year-old woman either. I think it's more about how she takes care of herself, what she can provide in terms of intelligent conversation and someone that's attractive and youthful, without necessarily being extremely young. I don't think age there's an absolute correlation between age and youthfulness. Could you post your comment again? I'm not gonna like scroll up to find it. So if you want to post it again, then feel free to, brother. Right. Well said, Sam. Good stuff, guys. I'm glad some of the messages are getting through. Since I live in Tower Hamlets, what places should I go to do day game? Man, interesting. Tower Hamlets is still somewhere I'm yet to visit in London, and I would like to visit. I think it will be interesting to go there. It doesn't matter, man. I mean, it depends what you're looking for. The great places to go in London: London Bridge, Tower Bridge, Covent Garden, Piccadilly, Oxford Circus, Bond Street, Hyde Park, even Kensington, South Kensington, Kensington High Street, Chelsea, Sloane Square, depending on what kind of girls you like, right? London is the best city in the world that I've been to for this, in terms of you get everyone from everywhere, right? And then yet there's still areas where there's going to be a higher proportion of one type of woman, and other areas where there's a higher proportion of another. So you've got this amazing ability to choose where you want to go based on what you're looking for. But just go out and enjoy it, man. Like, the way I see this is like children's playgrounds. They've got the swings, the slide, and the child goes there and their eyes light up as they look around. They're like, I want to go on the swing. I want to go in the house. I want to climb that plastic tree, little tree house. And they just get lost in it, right? And we lose that. But what we forget is our playground is the social playground. It's the world. It's the architecture around us, the buildings, the people, the women, the opportunities in day-to-day life that don't exist online, on our phones, on our computers. Get out there in the real world, look around, soak it up. You're not here forever. You're really, really, really not here forever. And some point in the future, you know that you're going to look back at this time, whatever age you are right now, and say, God damn it, I should have appreciated that. I should have been grateful. I should have taken those opportunities. I was there. I had the motivation. I had Fluid Social there telling me to go out. And yet I didn't make the most of it. And now it's too late, or now it feels too late. So do not let yourself feel that regret in the future. The best way to think about your life now is to think about mitigating future regrets. What action can you take right now that is going to cause less regret when you age, when you get older? Because everyone has regrets on their deathbed. And I think the most productive way to think about a good life is to say, which decisions am I going to regret taking and regret not having taken in 10, 20, 30 years time, and recognize that right now you have the ability to correct for those regrets. You have the ability to mitigate them. So do that. There is no art in the Saatchi Gallery. I will accept that in the Saatchi Gallery, there is often some very conceptual art. However, I will counter your argument, Dandy, in the Underworld, by saying that even though I don't actually love a lot of the strange, conceptual, weird art in the Saatchi Gallery, it is the gallery of all of them that makes me more creative, right? When I go there, I see some weird poles sticking out of the wall with different colored rubber balls on the end of them. And it's not beautiful or impressive even, but it gets you thinking creatively. There's so much interactive art in the Saatchi Gallery that plays with space and color, and the whole gallery becomes involved in the art itself. So I like it. I like going there. It's an experience. Even though I agree there is better art in other places, I enjoy the Saatchi Gallery more than any of the others. Anything to take the pressure off? No, man, put the pressure on. You don't want to avoid the pressure. Pressure molds diamond. Pressure forges diamonds. Pressure makes you stronger. You don't want to get rid of approach anxiety. You want to act through approach anxiety, with approach anxiety, with the pressure, with the claustrophobia, with the feelings arising and the tension and all of that. That is where you act. And I guarantee that acting with anxiety, that the other side of that is that there is always a reaction to that. So the harder it is to do something, the more pressure you feel, the more difficult it is, the better you feel afterwards. The better you get afterwards. So you shouldn't be looking to take the pressure off. You shouldn't be looking to get rid of anxiety. You should be looking to act with anxiety, because anxiety, the other side of anxiety is the ether of life, is the elixir, is the ecstasy, right? The opposite of total anxiety is total ecstasy. And so when you go through hell, you get to heaven. When you go through the anxiety, you get to the ecstasy. And that's the wave. That's the wave you've got to ride. If in London for a week this summer, any events, venues you'd recommend for techno house? Techno girls are usually very chill and very beautiful. Yeah, Ian. There's loads. Like there's I don't know a lot of the clubs, to be honest. If you're really interested, we can talk about it. But there's like a company in London that I use that does secret parties and secret techno events, and so I get invited to those, and then I usually go to those. I find actually queuing for clubs quite depressing, so a lot of the time I don't go because it's hard to get in and out, in when it starts and out when it ends, and I don't really like all that. So I prefer usually more smaller kind of secret social circle type parties like that. But there are definitely ways around it. If you can find anything outside, I'd recommend it's going to be better, right? If you've got something that's outside where people aren't locked into one room and so focused on what people are, people are looking at them and what people are thinking about them. But yeah, techno events, if you like the music, are an amazing place, not just for women, but to make friends, and social circles are forged in techno music events and house music events and electronic and avant-garde music events, for sure, if you like that. Yeah. I'd say day game is more about just primarily getting used to being rejected and still being able to be masculine and fun to the 1 in 4 girls who respond well, which is fair, I guess. Yeah, I would say so. Just a note on that. I understand, and I'm not trying to be like snobby about terminology, but one thing I do recommend for you guys watching it, and you may not like this, you may like it, but I'm trying not to use the terminology. I was also brought into this space in this area into coaching using the sort of terminology, the pickup terminology, day game, sets, all of this stuff. I don't think it's necessary. I think that we shouldn't be trying to isolate ourselves as a small community of people that do approaching, but instead we should be using normal human language to make this as accessible to the wider public as possible. There's some arguments to say that no, you want it to be isolated. You don't want the whole world to be, going out and talking to girls, because then nothing makes you special. But actually, everyone knows about it. They're just not doing it. And so you don't need to isolate yourselves. And I think a lot of the time what language does is it creates isolated groups. That's how cults are formed. That's how Stalin created his republic in Russia, was that he created new language, created new words for things. Hitler did the same thing. L. Ron Hubbard did the same thing. They use their own languages, and that way they segregate people from other things. And I know obviously this is in no way similar to that, but I do think we should be aware of the power of language to segregate you from the wider society. And what would you rather, have your friends understand what you're doing and your family understand it, not have to hide from everyone, just say I'm going out and talking to some girls and meeting some cool people? Or would you rather it was seen as this sort of underground, strange thing that only a small group of guys were inducted into? I think it's better to use just, I'm going to go out and talk to some girls, approach some girls. But I agree with you, man. I think it is just about, you are going to get rejected. It really, really doesn't matter, because this isn't for them. This is for you, right? This is what you can do to take control of your life. And if you do enough approaches, you will get results. If you're learning, the two things you need to do is taking consistent action and learning. Consistent action and active learning. What could I do better? What was off about that, and how can I instantly fix it? It doesn't need to be this long term, I'll keep trying that and keep trying to do that or do this. It's just, that was wrong, shouldn't have said that, won't say it again. Done. You've learned, and now you're going to continue and be consistent, and that's how you're going to grow. Nice raw stuff here, brother. Keep it up. Thank you, Nick. I agree. House also agreed. Fabric is a great shout. Mile End is, I've had a few techno parties in Mile End. I forget the names of all of these places, man, but there's that one in Oval by Kensington as well. That might be Fabric. No, my knowledge of clubs of huge super clubs in London is not what it should be, I must admit. I'm actually better at that in other countries in the world than in London. The events that I like to go to are generally more spontaneous, sort of secret events, and they're usually outdoors, because I prefer that environment of being outdoors, being in the world, and not kind of locked in by four walls. But there's many options in London, as we know. The Idiot Abroad episode of Carl in Brazil. Yeah, I watched it recently. I love Carl Pilkington. He's hilarious, and that is classic stuff. The most recent Tim Ferriss pod talks about how much complaining negatively affects your well-being. Yeah, it does. We don't need Ferriss to tell us that. But the opposite is that taking it away does incredible things for your well-being and for your social connections. Because one thing that happens is if you're with friends and you're complaining about other people, even with close friends, we have an evolved human tendency to be suspicious of those that complain about others. And the reason is that if you're happy to be around two people complaining about someone else, what do those two people or three people expect that you're doing when you're with other people, right? Maybe you're complaining about them. So complaining is terrible in so many ways because it makes people think that you're going to be complaining about them. So the simple message of all that is stop complaining, because the more you complain, the more you're expected to complain about people, and it can destroy social circles. It can destroy your relationships with people, and altogether it doesn't make you feel good, right? Just plugging the old laptop in. Complaining never makes you feel better about yourself. It never improves your situation. It's never a good idea. So yeah, and you don't have to do the opposite and just talk positively either. I'm not certain all of this kind of over the top, exaggerated positive talk is particularly good for people. I think it should just be taking away complaining, right? Try as much as you can never to say negative things about other people, even though that's not easy. Do whatever you can. If you catch yourself, call yourself out, be like, I'm bitching, stop it. Can I game my coworkers, not in a sexual way, but to improve my social circle using long game? It's a tough question, man. It requires a lot more time than I've got right now to answer it. But I would say the way that I think about this situation and the way that I deal with this, not just co-workers, but people in social environments like my gyms, my condominiums that I'm staying, anything like that, I flirt with everyone habitually, right? You banter with friends, but essentially what you're doing is flirting with your friends, right? Banter is just flirting between friends. Flirting is this playfulness where you're assuming a sense of humor in the other person. You're assuming when you tell a girl something a little bit challenging or edgy, you're saying, I trust that you have a sense of humor, that your personality is soft enough and light enough that you're not going to take offense. I trust you. I trust that you have a sense of humor. And then by saying something that typically would seem a little bit risky, what you're doing is you're showing faith in her that she's not going to be offended. And she responds to that faith by saying, yeah, I'm going to take this by the horns. I'm going to give him some shit back. I'm going to tease him back, right? And now you're connected, because not many guys have that with her. Not many friends have that with her, and not many guys she's dated have it. And it makes you stand out a lot. And it makes it creates a very rich breeding ground for sexual connection and emotional connection. So guys, we're going to go for 5 more minutes. So I'm just going to be careful about questions. I'm only going to answer the best ones now. But yeah, as I said, I'm going to post my calendar link, and you guys can get in touch with me for a free 30-minute call after this call. So let's go for the last 3 questions, and then we'll finish it. Wow, there's loads of them. Right, where are we? Okay, here we are. Any other places in the borough near me? No, man. I mean, I wouldn't just think about sticking to your borough either. You know, here in Rio, I don't just stay in Leblon, in the area that I live. I try and go everywhere. In fact, I try and get away from where I am because, you know, there's more chance that they know friends of friends, or they're dating a friend, or, you know, it's actually good to go further away in many cases than close to home. What is your percentage success rate? I don't know what you mean by success, but I would say roughly 1 in 5 women that I approach, I could end up going on a date with if I then wanted to, right? A lot of cases, I'll approach someone and I'll enjoy it, but I will actually consider later on that I don't really want to go on that date. I'm not inspired enough for it to be the best use of my time. But I would think 1 in 5 is what should be about normal in my experience, regardless of the guy, regardless of the age. 1 in 5 is pretty consistent across everyone. So yeah, that's what I think you should be looking for. Which means if you do 30 approaches in a week, you're likely to get 6 you're likely to be able to go on 6 dates, which is more than most guys can afford to do in terms of time and money and sanity. Sam, let's say you get a girl's number, but she can't meet you for 2 weeks or so, but she seems keen and compliant. How the hell would you keep the convo going well for that long? It's much about your mindset, Richie. What I would do in that situation is I would assume that she wants to see me and that we have a cool connection. And so when I message her, it's kind of fun and playful, and I'm acting like I know her really well, even if we've only met once, right? I've got a nickname for her. I'll send her like a funny picture of something I saw that is relevant to our conversation and our interaction. And I will treat her like I know her well, even when I technically don't. And in so doing, if you act with someone that you barely know, like you've known them for years and like your best friends, and like, you know, the two of you have a really deep connection, that person assumes the same thing in you, and you end up having that good connection with them. So always assume, act like you know someone really well, whether it's a girl or a guy, both with friends and dating, this is true. If you assume closeness in the relationship, closeness comes out of the relationship. Got you, Sam. I wasn't critiquing her. I suppose my question is that, is it worth pursuing a girl who says she's religious and not sexually available unless in love, even if the IG looks otherwise? Yeah, I understand, man. Maybe I misinterpreted your question originally. I understand. But yeah, I'm sorry, man. The same answer is true, which is that yes, it's worth pursuing her until you see a good reason not to, right? So if you are attracted to her, and so far you're enjoying the conversation and you like her so far, you don't need to be predicting into the future, right? Is this a potential problem? Is this something that I should be wary of? Should she be telling me the truth or not? I would get to know her better in person. Ask her these questions, right? Indirectly when you're with her. Find out about what she's really like, right? And see. And if she is, I don't want to say lying, because it's not got the intentionality that lying often has, right? Some girls in the past have said, like, you know, I've only slept with one guy, or I've only slept with 3 guys. And then when I get to know them better, you know, they'll be like, oh yeah, like my 5th guy. I'll be like, wait, you said 3. It's not, to me, it's not lying, because I think that women have evolved, as I said before, and maybe it sounds controversial, but I know that none of you guys care about controversy, you care about the truth. Women, in my opinion, have evolved an ability to discard truths about themselves that are no longer valuable to their success in relationships and in love. I'm not saying that means all women are compulsive liars. That's not the case at all. But that capacity, in my experience, is present. And so I don't take it seriously if she's a good person and I like her and we have a good connection, because men have evolved with certain ugly traits as well. And I just don't think it's worth judging other people on the way that they are naturally. If you like her, keep going and get on with it and enjoy it. And if you don't, then don't see her. I wouldn't procrastinate too much on what you should and shouldn't do. If it's not obvious and you're enjoying it, then keep going. I started cold approach. Got 2 minutes, by the way, guys, 1.5 minutes. I started cold approaching day game beginning of 2020. Again, started cold approaching in 2020. What has happened to you, man? You've been out of the loop. It's been difficult for everyone, but there's just your mindset is stopping you from getting back into it now. There's nothing physical stopping you. Things are opening up. It's time to get back out there. You're going to feel pressure. Yes. You're going to feel anxiety. Yes. Focus on something else. Focus on the faces of the people around you. Focus on the positive action you need to take, and not the thoughts that are distracting you. It's that simple. Success rate, I just answered that question, probably about 1 in 5. Yep. Right. One in 5 and in a date, Tuss says 1 in 20, and that's for advanced guys. Even Terrero says 1 in 30 approaches advanced. Something not adding up here. Man, that's my experience, right? If I go out now, which I'm going to, probably not along the beach, and if I talk to 5 girls here, one of them, in my experience, is going to turn into a date. So I don't know what other people are saying or what other people's experiences or where in the world that is. It differs from place to place. In Poland, my rate would be lower. In London, it would be about the same. It's not an exact science, man. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But yeah, for me, I would say at the moment, it's about 1 in 5. Daddy in the underworld. There are a lot of places that I can go, but also near my area is potentially attractive girls. So who knows? So I lived there my whole life and I know so. Yeah, man. Well, if there's attractive girls in your area, it's just kind of using caution, right? Like I'm careful in Leblon where I'm living now, where we are right now, because I know that the girls that I'm meeting are girls that I'm going to be seeing on nights out. And so maybe I've met them before, maybe they're friends of friends. I'm a bit more careful here, right? I'm not, it's my area, right? I don't want to just be approaching loads of people in the same area. It gets complicated. People are dating friends. People have, you've met before, you don't remember, friends of friends. It gets complicated. So just be smart about it if you're in your area. Don't be so blasé about it, right? Be a little more considered and careful, and try and focus on social circles as well, so that even if you do approach someone, you can laugh it off with your social circle rather than sort of being ostracized from that society. Right, guys, we've hit the 1 hour, 10-minute mark. So that's it for today. And as I said, I'm going to post my Calendly link everywhere that I can on the YouTube video. I'm going to post it here in the comment section. But yeah, get in contact for a free 30-minute call. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. And we'll do this again soon. I think I'm going to be talking to Tusky over the next few days. I'm going to be talking to a guy called David Gold tomorrow on his Facebook. I'm going to be talking to Jack Napier early next week. So yeah, exciting things. And Tusk and I have some new footage coming out from our travels up the east coast of Brazil. So let's get excited about that as well. There's going to be some cool content that we've been filming on a DJI camera, which is sort of a smart camera. So I've actually been doing some approaches where I'm going in with the camera so she knows she's being filmed. And it's been pretty fun. It's been cool. So I'm looking forward to getting that out. Thank you all for coming. Sam out.